Welcome back, my friends, for episode 3 of How Many Firings Can We Get on this 38 Special. If you remember back from episode 1, we dug this brass out of the trash. It was like a once fired set of 50, brand new, right from the store. Someone shot and put the entire thing into the trash can. Well, I'm keeping them as a set. We're not prepping them, we're not cleaning them, we're not tumbling them, we're not trimming, we're not doing anything other than loading it as many times as we can, with as many loads as we can. So last time we used 3.5 grains of accurate number 2, and I think it performed a lot better than when we were on the upper end of that charge range there for that powder. So I don't have any chronograph readings, but obviously my gun likes this bullet moving a little bit slower than whatever the hell it was moving at previously. But you see all these little tail swipes here. I don't know if this is starting to keyhole. I don't know, man. I don't think my gun really likes this bullet a whole lot to begin with. So today we're going to be switching it up and going down to the 358 125 grain. And I know my gun loves those, so this will be kind of cool. Anyways, good to know that it worked better with the number 2 on the lower end than trying to push it up to that plus P sort of area there. So yeah, totally super round primers, no pressure signs, and we still had a pretty good seal around the cases. I do not remember noting a whole lot of unburnt powder, but you can see a little kernel there. I feel like I always kind of get some unburnt powder with all the accurate powders I've used, especially number 5. But anyways, brass looks perfect. So now this will be the 4th firing, once from the factory, 2 here, and then this will be number 4. So let's get into it for today. So we're going to be using the Lee 358 125 with my alloy, roughly 132 grains. That's basically range scrap with about 30 to 40% pure lead, just to soften it up. And of course that makes it heavier as well, but that lets me stretch out my range scrap for other stuff, so I can kind of have different alloys depending on what I'm shooting. And with the 38 Special, it's a pretty low pressure. We're talking not 18,000 PSI. So we can use a softer alloy at those lower pressures and still get away with it thanks to powder coating here. So we're switching bullets. We're going to be switching primers as well. We were on the Fiocchis. Now we're going to be using some CCI 500s. And instead of accurate number 2, we're going to be going with Ramshot Silhouette powder. And based on the Hodgdon website, from both standard and plus P loads, they start at 5.2 and go all the way up to 7.1 grains. So we're going to go right in the middle at 6.2. And this should be a pretty mild load. If we learn anything from number 2, that would be to maybe start lower, find some good accuracy on the bottom end, and if you really need to push it for pissing hot, then go for it. But accuracy is number 1 compared to velocity and, you know, foot-pounds of energy, and who gives a crap. I just want the holes on the paper to be next to the other holes on the paper. So that's what we're going for. Once again, we're not going to be cleaning these up. I'm going to throw them into the this little blue bucket over here, and we'll start over on the Dillon loading them up. Yeah, case is starting to get a little dirty, and here's some unburnt powder. I guess I spoke too soon. Nothing too horrible though, I've seen a lot worse, but you know, whatever. Unburnt powder, that's dirty, we don't want that. We want a nice clean burn, but I have a feeling no matter what, our cases are going to start to get ugly because we're not cleaning them up. We're just going to run them as is. Alright, so we just need 50 primers today. And then we'll use the other half of this little sleeve after we get back from the range for another round. All right, the primers are loaded up. The powder measure is dialed in. And for the uninitiated, we're going to start by full length sizing on stage 1. And then when we push forward, that'll prime for us on the downstroke. We rotate to stage 2 where we go up, expand that case mouth, and dump our powder. We're going to rotate to stage number 3. That's where we're going to be seating our bullet. You can seat and crimp at the same time. However, I advised against that unless your case lengths are the exact same. Otherwise, you could have variations in your crimp, which could screw up your seating and all kinds of fun stuff. So we separate that. And on stage 4, we have the Lee factory crimp die. It's got a carbide ring that resizes the full length of the case as well as adds a nice roll crimp. Finally, we come down and rotate into our catch tray. So let's get started here. So yeah, this will be the 4th firing on this Federal brass. Let's see how that primer went in. Oh, just beautifully, yes. Okay. Still feels nice and smooth. I don't think we're going to need to actually clean our cases ever. Alright, yep. Just visually checking for powder. And we'll set our bullet on there. Seems like we have sufficient flare still set up from our last bullet. And we'll see where we're seated. It actually looks freaking perfect. Yeah, very nice. Alright. These primer pockets still feel like almost brand new. Still very tight. Oh, dropped one. Okay, visually inspect for powder. Yes, it's very hard to see a measly 6 grains of powder in the 38 special case. It would be very easy to double or perhaps even triple charge a powder in your 38 special. So always be careful of that. Okay, now before we get too much further, let's go grab our piece and we'll try the old plunker test. And for the plunk test, yep, there's our round, in and out. There we go. Let's try this other one here. Yep. It bounces around very nice. Falls out, not a problem at all. Very nice. So we haven't ran any 38 special in a while. We've had the Dillon set up for the 223. If you missed that series, we were filling up the bucket. Or the can, we call it a can, I guess. The ammo can. We done filled her up with some 223 62 grainers. Using the Shooter's World match rifle. They shoot okay, but they were 10-cent projectiles for a reason. Ew, Aguila, ew. They're not that great. They're like 3 inches at 100. It's gross, but for cheap ammo to have around to go mag dumping with, you know, it does its job. Can't complain there. It goes bang. It goes bang. Yep, these primer pockets still feel just about like brand new. I've heard some of you guys saying in the comments on the other past episode there, you've had some since the 60s or 70s with friggin' 1,000+ firings on them. No, I can't remember, but it was a ridiculous high number, which is probably believable, you know, if you anneal and you don't over flare your cases and then you don't over crimp, you're not working them, you know, extra hard or anything. So I bet with, you know, light loads and proper brass prep, you could probably get a lot of loads out of a low pressure round like the 38 Special. So what are your favorite super light plinking loads, fellers? I certainly do enjoy this 125 grain mold. It's probably my favorite bullet mold for the 38. I also use it for 9mm, which is very nice. I leave it sized to 358. And I'm sure several of you guys have tried that before as well. And if you haven't, if you have this bullet, you only use it for, if you're only using it for 38 special right now, or 357, go ahead and try it in your 9mm. You do have to seat them pretty short. I think it's like 104 or something, 1.04 inches. Or that's where I had to seat them to get them to plunk in and out of a Springfield Hellcat. That's my wife's carry piece, but it has a really picky chamber compared to my Glock or my Ruger or several other pistols we've tried. Seems like that Springfield is the pickiest, so have to make sure your stuff fits in all the guns it's going to be used in. So that's why I generally go shorter if I can. That way there's no issue. You can go, oh yeah, that round only works with 3 out of my 5 guns. You know, that sounds lame, just seat it a little bit shorter and you should be good to go. These cases being a little dirty, getting squeaky on us. You can hear that sizing die squeezing down. Otherwise though, these cases don't look so dirty just yet. Still pretty clean for having 3 firings so far. So hopefully I can get to the range tomorrow. It's supposed to be freaking cold. Not exactly wet and rainy, but it's still going to be like sub 40 degrees. Super windy. And right now it's down in the 20s, so hopefully it warms up to maybe 40 degrees tomorrow. And we'll try to get the chronograph out and see how these do. I haven't chronographed any of those accurate loads so far, so maybe I should start collecting that data just to have on hand, since we're going to be testing 1,000 freaking loads here. You know, between 50 shots, I should be able to get a little bit of chronograph information there. You know, weather permitting and all that fun stuff. Or if the range is busy, I don't want to be in people's way setting up my stupid nerd tripod, you know. Also, I don't think anyone at the range would really care, so. I mean, they don't care when I've set it up previously. They just look at you like you're, you know, what's this guy doing? Did he bring us weird nerdy stuff to the range? I just came to Dude Bro Mag Dump. This guy's like setting up his Bluetooth and his antennas and this weird thing on his tripod, and he's filming himself, talking to himself like an idiot. Yeah, that's what people think at the range when they see old dummy. So, yeah, whatever. I'm setting the chronograph up. They can suck it. Thug life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because, you know, how hard dummy can go. Thug life, yo. Ooh, look, we're getting down here. I got maybe 6 left, 5 or 6, or not 10 left, I can tell you that. Yeah, these CCI primers are feeling pretty good so far. Those Fiocchi ones, they did just fine. After this, we can try some Giant X, or maybe the CCI 550s, the Magnums. I've also heard people using small rifle primers and a wheel gun because, you know, the hammer still can set them off. And I guess the 400 from CCI small rifle is the exact same as the 550, the small pistol Magnum. They just rebranded the same item into different categories. Who really knows though? Hard telling. You know, you hear all these things on the interwebs, and who do you believe? I don't know, man. Anyways, this is our last round. Last piece of brass, that is. Okay, yep, last primer came out smoothly. Rotate, visual check for powder. Bingo. Okay, sweet. Cool, well, let's finish this up and then let's head out to the range, folks. We'll see you in a minute. And we're back from the range. Sorry, no footage. It was cold and blah, 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 whatever. I also ended up shooting the chronograph, trying to get readings for this. Let me go get the data for the 3 shots I did gather before putting a giant hole right through the screen and getting the unit disconnected error on my phone. So yeah, anyways, I was shooting over the chronograph. Very first shot, cold bore, 638. Second shot, 681. Third shot, no reading. I kind of adjust. Maybe I'm not aiming over the sensor properly. Let's try it down a little bit. Fire my next shot, no reading. Same with the 4th shot. Let's aim down just a hair. 5th shot, right through the chronograph. Yep, so that's how that went. So anyways, I shot 35 rounds over this target at roughly 12 yards with the 6.2 grains of silhouette. And guess what? All 35 of them are on the target, and a big majority of them are actually centered. I rather enjoy this bullet. My gun actually shoots it pretty well, and whenever I do my part with my little snubby, it does pretty well. So we're pretty slow there on the velocity, roughly a 660 average between 2 shots, pretty meh. And we can still bump up an entire grain with that. And I think I'm going to because this stuff had a really, really horrible burn. It actually barely burned. I had a couple of them felt really light, not like a squib, but you could definitely tell there was a lot of unburnt powder. We'll just do a quick drive-by of these cases, but you can see down here, look at all that unburnt powder. Holy moly. And this is the same crimp setting we've been using. Yeah, look at all that. And I think that one actually kind of locked up my extractor on the cylinder, so I had to kind of turn and smack her on the table to get that little ejector to punch out the cylinder, or to punch the rounds out of the cylinder, because all that powder got stuck on that round. So incredible. That's pretty weird. I've never seen this much unburnt powder, and you can see how dirty our cases are. We barely got a full seal from the case to the chamber, so we had all that unburnt powder blowing by as well, as you can see here. So I have heard really good things about Silhouette. You know, it's really great, top velocities, great power, all that good stuff. And obviously here in the middle of the road, not so much. So I'm gonna kick it up maybe 3/10 or so. We can still work up after that. But again, these cases are gonna last almost a long, long time, like forever, according to some people, if I treat them right. So we'll work up a couple times, maybe 3 or 4 different times. And by the time we get to firing number 7, we'll be at a top load with the Silhouette. See if it's got a complete burn. I guess it's time to go back here to get recycled. And we'll start over again. But yeah, look at all that unburnt powder getting blown past the case. So we're gonna have to kick it up, build more pressure, burn all that powder before it leaves the barrel. And it actually is a pretty slow burning powder for a little itty bitty 1 7/8 inch barrel. But once again, super pleased with the accuracy. You know, this is me holding low, that's me throwing them that way. If I hold there, you know, and do my part to keep it there. Pretty pleased with Silhouette. Super love the 358 125. This is still my freaking favorite pistol bullet, and they shoot just as well, if not better, in 9mm. So I guess I have to cast a whole bunch of these up here soon. Anyways, we're going to kick it up from maybe 6.2 up to 6.5. Let's try that for the next episode. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.